The show begins with Nathan, Kelly, Simon, Rudy, Alicia, and Curtis, a group of young offenders who've all committed antisocial behavior. As punishment, they're sentenced to community service, doing things like painting curbs and benches or picking up trash from the streets and parks. They're met by their probation officer, Tony, who's assigned to supervise them while they serve their hours. He warns them to take it seriously, otherwise he'll make sure they end up in real prison. He reminds them this is their chance to prove to society that they're not criminals, because right now, that's exactly how everyone sees them. Nathan shoots back that maybe society isn't wrong after all. Rudy curses at him, telling him to shut up, and Nathan smirks at Tony, saying a guy like Rudy was born a criminal, and no amount of community service will change that. Kelly snaps at him, demanding he let them get on with the work. Her thick accent slips through, and Nathan mocks her for it, making it clear he enjoys tearing down everyone around him. Rudy loses his temper and starts a fight with Nathan, but Tony steps in to break it up before it gets too far. He then leads the group to their first assignment, just down the street from the community center. They all put on the orange jumpsuits, which look almost identical to prison uniforms, and get to work repainting the benches. While working, Alicia stands next to Curtis and tells him she feels like she's seen him before. A moment later, she remembers he used to be a famous runner until he messed up and threw away his career. Curtis sarcastically thanks her for reminding him of his failure, clearly annoyed, and keeps painting. Suddenly, Rudy drops his can of paint all over himself, ruining his clothes. Furious, he storms off toward the bathroom. At that moment, Nathan tries striking up a conversation with Kelly, asking what crime landed her in community service. Kelly clearly doesn't want to answer, but Nathan keeps poking fun at her until she snaps back, saying her friend insulted her in the middle of the street, so she attacked her violently. Nathan mocks her again, saying she should have finished the job properly. Then he turns to Simon, the quiet, withdrawn one, and pushes him to confess his crime. Simon stays silent at first, but Nathan keeps teasing and bullying him, trying to force him to speak so he doesn't look weak. Finally, Simon admits he tried to set fire to someone's house. Just then, Tony, the probation officer, comes back and spots Rudy's spilled paint can on the ground. He scolds the group, saying he only left them for 5 minutes and can't understand what's so difficult about the task. Suddenly, a massive dark cloud forms in the sky and lightning strikes Tony's car. Moments later, chunks of ice and hailstones crash down, smashing cars all around them. Terrified, Tony yells that they need to get back to the community center right away. They all sprint across the pavement as ice and debris slam into the ground around them. When they finally reach the door, it's locked, and Tony fumbles nervously for the key but can't find it in the chaos. Then, without warning, a powerful bolt of lightning crashes down, striking the entire group and blasting them to the ground. After a moment, they slowly come to their senses. Simon looks around in shock and says they should all be dead. Tony stands up, acting strangely, his body twitching with sudden, uncontrollable movements. The group asks if he's all right, and he mutters that they're canceling the day. The storm calms down, and everyone heads inside to change out of their soaked clothes. Rudy is still in the bathroom smoking drugs, and in the girls' bathroom, Kelly is fixing her hair when Alicia sees her and keeps staring at her strangely. Suddenly, Kelly hears her saying that she looks really ugly, so Kelly asks her what she just said, but Alicia hadn't opened her mouth at all. Kelly keeps combing her hair, but again hears Alicia insulting her, so she gets angry and wants to hit her. Alicia quickly leaves and goes back home. The rest of the group also go back home except Rudy, who is still in the bathroom. Suddenly, the probation officer appears, moving in a strange, erratic way, as if he had turned into someone else. In the bathroom, Rudy hears the officer's voice, so he quickly puts out his cigarette and looks under the door. By mistake, his phone falls in front of the officer's feet, and the officer kicks it with such unnatural strength that he smashes it flat. Then he breaks the bathroom door down with an axe. We then see Kelly playing with her dog when suddenly she hears it saying that it's tired of her and wants to go play with the neighbor's girl. Kelly is terrified and pushes the dog away from her. Later, her boyfriend shows up and tries to get close to her, so Kelly tells him about the strange things she's been hearing. Suddenly, she hears his voice too, saying he doesn't understand why she doesn't want to be in a relationship with him, that he regrets proposing to her, and that it's obvious she's been with many guys before him and is just playing with him. Kelly is shocked and hits him, telling him she hasn't been in many relationships and she isn't playing with him. Her boyfriend gets angry and says he never said anything, that it's clear she's crazy, and then he leaves her. Kelly cries, telling him that she truly loves him. We go to Nathan, who returns home and tries to open the door, but discovers that the lock has been changed. He asks his mother to open it, but she tells him that Jeremy is moving back in with her and she wants their relationship to work. Nathan tells her that Jeremy is a different person and that their relationship will never last. But his mother tells him to stop making everyone hate him. She says she changed the lock because Jeremy wouldn't agree to live with her if Nathan was still there. Nathan is shocked and breaks down when he sees his bag placed in front of the door, realizing his mother chose her boyfriend over him. He takes his bag and wanders the streets, not knowing where to go, calling his friends, but most of them hang up on him because of the way he treated them before. He decides to go sleep at the community center. The next day, Nathan wakes up and goes into the bathroom, where he suddenly finds the door broken and blood everywhere, but he doesn't care and leaves to change his clothes. A little later, the rest of the group arrives and goes into the bathroom. Suddenly, Simon notices the blood on the floor, gets scared, and his head starts shaking unnaturally. He calls out to the rest of the group, saying he feels something is wrong, and then tells them he found blood on the ground. But no one in the group answers him or even looks at him, which makes Simon furious. He stands in front of them, yet still no one seems to notice him. Simon looks at himself in the mirror and realizes he's not visible. Shocked and confused, he can't understand what's happening. After the group leaves, the same thing happens again. Simon looks in the mirror and suddenly sees himself visible once more. The group goes outside the center to start work, but suddenly they find a sentence written on the wall of the center saying that he will finish them all. The probation officer appears in a normal state and tells them to clean the wall. Kelly gets upset and says it's not their fault and that they didn't write the sentence, so the officer gets angry at her and is about to hit her. Kelly gets upset and goes to sit alone, but the officer follows her, wanting to hit her, saying he's tired of the way they treat him. Kelly threatens to report him and quickly walks away, but the officer breaks a pipe and goes after her, showing that he wants to kill her. At that time, the rest of the group goes back inside the center and sits together. Alicia talks to Curtis and tells him that the whole school admired him, but he dealt drugs, and that's why he stopped playing. Curtis tells her that he just got caught with cocaine, which shocks them because no one does community service for cocaine. He explains that the judge sentenced him to 200 hours of community service and banned him from sports for 2 years because he was famous, and the judge wanted to make an example of him for other young people. Nathan mocks him, saying he let down himself, his family, and everyone else, which makes Curtis angry and ready to hit him. Suddenly, Kelly bursts in terrified, slams the door behind her, and tells them the probation officer wants to kill her. None of the group believes her, and they think she's acting. Kelly asks if any of them have felt something strange after the lightning strike, and she hears Simon thinking to himself that he really did feel something, but won't say it because he doesn't want to be mocked. Kelly asks him to say it, promising she will believe him. He tells them that sometimes he becomes invisible and that he was standing right in front of them earlier, but none of them saw him. Nathan mocks him and tells him to try not being visible again. Simon lifts his head and tries to recreate the same state that happened to him, and Nathan pretends he can't see him, hitting him while laughing. Kelly tells them she believes him because she has also started hearing other people's thoughts, and she tells each one of them what they are thinking, but still no one believes her. Curtis wants to leave the center and Kelly tries to stop him, but he forces the door open. Suddenly, the probation officer comes in, hits Kelly on the head, killing her, and attacks the whole group. But then, time rewinds 2 minutes, and it shows that everything that happened was seen by Curtis as if he had the ability to see the future or go back to the past. He sees Nathan telling Kelly to open the door, but Curtis stops him and says she's right and that he saw what was about to happen. Nathan doesn't believe him and still opens the door, and suddenly they see the probation officer acting violently, holding a pipe in his hand and charging toward them. Nathan panics, slams the door shut, and tells them the officer really is waiting for them. They decide to escape through the back door and pass through the locker room, but suddenly they find a lot of blood in front of a certain locker. They open it and find Rudy's dead body inside. They are horrified and realize the officer killed him. They decide to call the police, but discover the officer has taken all their phones. Suddenly, the probation officer smashes the back door open, and just before he attacks them, Kelly strikes him and manages to kill him. The rest of the group is terrified because now they are involved in a crime while already accused of other offenses, and no one would believe that the lightning strike turned the probation officer into a monster. Simon suggests they hide the bodies, saying there's no crime without bodies. They decide to move Rudy and the officer in wheelchairs so people will think they are disabled and won't pay attention to them. They choose a burial spot under the bridge, and the group buries both bodies there. Curtis is extremely scared because if the crime is discovered, his future will be ruined. Afterwards, they return together to the center. There, Curtis touches Alicia's hand and suddenly finds himself blurting out everything in his head without control. He then pulls away from her, not remembering what he said. Simon gets close to her and touches her too, and he also ends up saying everything he feels inside. They realize that Alicia has the power to make anyone who touches her reveal all the thoughts they have about her. Nathan remains the only one who doesn't know what his power is. Each of them goes back home, thinking about what happened. The next day, they all agree that if anyone asks questions, they will say they don't know anything. Another community service worker named Sally shows up and asks them about their probation officer and about Rudy. It's revealed that she was in a relationship with the officer, and she is deeply saddened by his disappearance. The following day, the new supervisor takes them to a nursing home and asks them to try talking to the elderly residents. She makes Alicia dance with one of the old men, but as soon as he touches her, he starts saying very vulgar things to her. The supervisor is shocked and quickly pulls Alicia away from him. Nathan suddenly notices one of the volunteers and is immediately attracted to her. He tries to get to know her and learns that her name is Nadine. She asks him why he is doing community service, and he tells her it was because he stole candy from a shop. Nadine laughs with him, and it's clear she likes him. The volunteer activity ends, and the group leaves the building. Suddenly, they find a man lying on the ground with no clothes on. Nathan looks at him and realizes it's Jeremy, his mother's boyfriend. Jeremy wakes up and starts acting like a dog, then runs away quickly from them. They guess that the lightning might have turned him into a dog or a werewolf. The group returns to the center, and Curtis opens his locker, only to find a note that says, "I know what you did." Shocked, Curtis asks Nathan if he wrote it. Nathan tells him he didn't, and that if he wanted to pull a prank, it would have been way more creative than that. The rest of the group starts to worry that someone might know their secret, but Nathan tells them if anyone really knew, they would already have been arrested. Nathan leaves the center and decides to tell his mother what he saw, but she doesn't believe him because he always lies to make her break up with whoever she's dating. She asks him to just try to be happy for her. Nathan walks away upset that his mother doesn't believe him. He returns to the center where he sleeps, and suddenly he finds Nadine there, who is also volunteering at the same place. He asks her to stay up with him, embarrassed to admit that he's homeless and sleeping at the center. They spend some time together and later go outside to sit alone. But suddenly Nadine sees Jeremy naked, rummaging through the trash. Nathan is shocked when he sees him and quickly takes out his phone to record, but Jeremy runs away fast. He moves in a strange, non-human way. Nathan tries to get closer, but Jeremy attacks him, sniffing him like a dog. Suddenly another dog barks, and Jeremy runs toward it and disappears. The next day, Nathan shows the video he recorded to the rest of the group and asks for their help, but no one agrees except Simon. Nathan mocks him, saying he can't do anything, and walks away. Nathan sneaks into his mother's house and sees Jeremy there. He confronts him with the photo and tells him he attacked him. Jeremy admits he doesn't understand what's happening to him. Nathan attacks him and starts hitting him, but suddenly his mother arrives and tells Nathan to get off him. Nathan shows her the picture, and she tells him she already knows. At first, she didn't believe it until she saw him transform with her own eyes. Jeremy explains that he had a dog when he was a child and loved it very much, and whenever he hears another dog of the same breed, he transforms and acts like a dog. He says it all started after the lightning storm. Nathan is shocked and asks his mother if she doesn't have a problem with him turning into a dog. She tells him she loves him and that it's not his fault. But Nathan tells her he's dangerous to her, while Jeremy defends himself, saying he loves her and would never hurt her. Nathan loses his temper and tries to hit him, but his mother defends Jeremy and strikes her own son. Nathan is stunned, leaves the house, and walks away heartbroken. After that, Nathan goes to Nadine's house to return her phone. She lets him in, and he finds out she lives with her grandmother. She advises him to grow up and stop being selfish, telling him he can't give his mother everything she needs and that no one wants to stay alone forever. Their feelings for each other grow, and they start a relationship. Suddenly, another storm hits, and Nathan sees Nadine transform into an old woman. Shocked, he rushes into the bathroom. Terrified, Nadine tries to explain, telling him that she suddenly turned young again and doesn't understand what happened to her. Nathan tells her she lied and tricked him, and that she traumatized him. He grabs his clothes and storms out, while Nadine begs him not to leave, telling him she's afraid of turning back into an old, lonely woman. Nathan doesn't listen and walks away. The next day, the group goes to the nursing home, and Nathan sees Nadine approaching him in her old woman form. He panics and runs away quickly. Afterwards, the group asks what happened, and Kelly reads his thoughts, realizing he had a relationship with the old woman. Nathan explains that she looked young at the time, and that it's clear the storm didn't only affect them. They all go back to the center, where a policeman speaks with Alicia about breaking the law during her fight with her friends the day before. The policeman touches Alicia, and suddenly he gets close to her, wanting to sleep with her. Their supervisor sees this and pulls her away immediately. She then speaks to Alicia privately, telling her that if she wants to press charges, she'll testify on her behalf. But Alicia refuses, saying she'll try to forget what happened. The supervisor tells her that if she ever wants to talk about anything or share something she's afraid of, she can come to her. Alicia rudely refuses and walks away. At that time, Nathan decides to visit Nadine after feeling guilty, but suddenly finds her dead in her chair while looking at photos of herself when she was young. Nathan is deeply moved and apologizes to her. He then decides to make peace with his mother, goes to her house, apologizes to her and Jeremy, and tells them he wishes them happiness. He lies to his mom, saying he's living in an apartment with his friends, that he's happy, and that he'll leave her the house so she can be comfortable. Nathan leaves, having done something right for the first time in his life. The next day, the group goes into the locker room, but suddenly Nathan finds a note with a picture of the probation officer on it, saying that someone knows what they did to him. The group panics, realizing someone knows the truth. The new supervisor appears, eavesdropping on them, making it seem like she's the one behind the note to scare them. The group sits together, trying to figure out who could be trying to frighten them, and they suspect it might be Sally, the supervisor, since she's the only one who cared about Tony. They decide to have Simon keep watch on the lockers to see who's putting the notes inside. They go to work with a volunteer who collects used clothes to distribute to the homeless. Sally then asks Kelly to sit down with the friend she fought with as a form of social rehabilitation for Kelly. But Kelly ends up fighting with her friend again, who hits her, and Sally kicks her out of the center, realizing there's no hope in trying to help her. Later, Alicia sits with Curtis and tries to touch him to force him to get close to her, but Curtis pulls away, saying he wants to choose when to speak his mind, not have someone else force him. But Alicia doesn't care about what Curtis says and gets closer to him, and Curtis can't control himself and ends up sleeping with her. When he comes back to his senses, he realizes he doesn't remember anything and gets very upset, arguing with Alicia because she forced him into something he didn't want. He leaves her and walks away. Simon doesn't see anyone going into their lockers and later goes back home, where he signed up on a chat site and has been talking to a girl he met 2 days earlier. He keeps uploading videos of himself with the rest of the group while they're hanging out. The strange girl messages him every time he uploads something, and Simon asks her to send him a picture, but she refuses. On the other hand, the supervisor Sally is revealed to be the same girl Simon is talking to online, trying to lure him into confessing the truth. She has Tony's picture on her computer, and it's shown they really were in a relationship. The next day, the group heads to the community center, and on Simon's way there, he sees a group of workers digging under the bridge. Simon panics and rushes to the rest of the group, telling them what's happening. They start thinking about what they should do before the workers discover the bodies. Alicia suggests stealing her dad's car to move the bodies somewhere else. Everyone agrees, and they all go to Alicia's house, take the bodies, and decide to hide them in the community center storage room to move them again the next day. Simon finds the probation officer's wallet, takes his credit card, and hides it in his pocket. Nathan jokes with Kelly, who's wearing a cap, but it's revealed she's actually wearing a wig and is suffering from hair loss. Kelly feels embarrassed and runs away quickly from the group. Nathan follows Kelly to apologize, gives her back the cap and wig, and offers to walk her home. Kelly tells him that she woke up one morning to find all her hair had fallen out next to her. The next day, as Kelly leaves her house, she suddenly sees her friend's boyfriend, who is bald, and he starts arguing with her, saying she's the reason it happened to him. Kelly realizes her friend was the one who caused her baldness, so she decides to wait for her to come out of the house. As soon as she sees her, Kelly attacks her and demands she give her hair back. Her friend, whose name is Jody, explains that she also went bald and that anyone who looks at her loses their hair too, but it grows back after a few days. Kelly apologizes for accusing her, and they become friends again. Afterwards, the group arrives at the community center and decides to move the bodies before Sally shows up, but Alicia refuses to help and walks away with the other volunteer to annoy Curtis. The group starts thinking of another plan. and Simon suggests he could turn invisible, steal the keys to Sally's car, and they could use it to move the bodies. The group agrees, and Simon successfully steals the keys and loads the bodies into the car. But before they can drive away, they see Sally coming from a distance, so they quickly hide. Nathan accidentally leaves the keys in the car, and Lucy takes the car and drives off with the two bodies in the trunk. She arrives at the police station and meets her friend, who tells her that Tony used his credit card to book a flight to Spain in 2 weeks, and they suspect he's still alive but has broken up with her. He says it's possible there's someone else in Tony's life, but Sally refuses to believe it and insists she's certain Tony would never do that to her. At that time, the group is very scared of being exposed and is certain they will end up in prison. Curtis decides to look for Alicia to tell her what happened. Alicia is in the car with the volunteer, who touches her and suddenly changes, becoming desperate to sleep with her. Curtis arrives and tries to pull Alicia away, but he too is affected by her power and also tries to sleep with her. The situation turns into an attempted assault, and Alicia runs away quickly. Curtis snaps out of it, runs after her, and apologizes. Alicia tells him she can't keep living her life like this. He promises her he'll stay by her side and that together they'll find a way to help her control her powers. They return to the rest of the group. The next day, Sally comes to the center and the group watches her closely, realizing she hasn't yet discovered the bodies. But Sally smells a strange stench and decides to open the car trunk. Suddenly, she finds the body of her boyfriend along with Rudy. Time suddenly rewinds 2 minutes because of Curtis, who knows what's about to happen. He warns the group that Sally is going to open the trunk, so Nathan rushes out and throws a brick at her car to distract her. Sally becomes furious and orders him to follow her to the office. By the end of the day, the group regathers after dumping the bodies in the water and tying them with heavy rocks. That night, Simon tells them he booked a flight in Tony's name to mislead the police, and the group praises his cleverness. For the first time, Simon feels accepted and asks them to hang out together. But Alicia leaves with Curtis, Nathan walks off, and Kelly apologizes, saying she can't go out until her hair grows back. Simon is left alone, sad, and suddenly slips into his pre-invisibility state until he fully disappears while crying from his constant feeling of loneliness. The next day, Curtis wakes up and looks at a picture of himself with Alicia, when suddenly he slips into his time reversal state. All the events flash before him until he goes back to the day the police arrested him. He sees Sam, the reason he ended up in prison after the police caught her, and he runs after her to stop her from buying drugs. But he doesn't catch her in time. He grabs the drugs from her, and suddenly the same officer who arrested him shows up. Curtis runs into the bathroom and dumps all the drugs into the toilet, then escapes through the window. The officer chases him but doesn't find him. Curtis calls Sam and asks where she is, and she tells him the dealer won't let her leave unless she gives back the drugs or pays him. Curtis goes back to the club and on the stairs sees Kelly drunk and sitting alone, so he covers her up before heading to the dealer. He realizes the money was in Sam's jacket and the dealer doesn't believe him. The dealer raises a knife and by accident Sam is killed. Curtis breaks down in shock and tries to rewind time again. He finds himself in the same spot where he saw Sam and this time decides to act differently. He takes the drugs from the dealer and hides them. The officer shows up, searches everyone, but finds nothing, then leaves, warning Curtis not to go down this path. Curtis returns the drugs to the dealer and refuses to buy them. Meanwhile, Simon is at the same party trying to fit in with his friends, but the leader of the group says he wasn't even invited and only got in because of a mistake with his name. Simon walks away upset. Suddenly, he sees Kelly asleep on the stairs and tries to approach her, but loses his nerve and leaves. At that time, somewhere else, Nathan is causing trouble in an arcade and steals candy from a machine. The manager sees him and tries to stop him, but Nathan mocks him, so the manager calls security. Nathan is taken to the office, and the manager gives him a choice. Pay the money, or he'll call the police. Nathan calls his mother, but since she's out of town, she sends his father to handle it. The tension between Nathan and his father is clear, and Nathan refuses to let him pay anything, saying he'd rather be arrested than accept his father's help. The police actually arrive and arrest Nathan for stealing candy. Meanwhile, Curtis happens to see Alicia at the same club. She feels like she knows him, and Curtis, smiling, tells her they'll get to know each other later. Back to Kelly. She goes out with her boyfriend, and together they steal a car. By coincidence, her boyfriend finds a wedding ring inside and decides to propose to Kelly. She's overjoyed and accepts. Shortly after, Tony and Sally come out of the same club and realize their car has been stolen. Tony is furious, but Sally calms him down, reminding him the car is insured. Tony tells her the wedding ring was inside, and Sally is thrilled, agreeing to marry him even without the ring. Everyone seems happy in their lives. Back to Curtis. He suddenly returns to the future after changing the past. He gets a call from his coach telling him he's late for training. Curtis notices his outfit has changed from community service clothes to training gear. He opens the newspaper and sees his name written, announcing he's on his way to the Olympics. Curtis is overjoyed and asks his coach for a little time because he wants to stop by and see his friends. Curtis goes to the community center and finds pictures of everyone who was with him there hanging on the wall, realizing they all died. Suddenly, Nathan appears, his body covered in injuries, visiting the center as well. He doesn't recognize Curtis because the changed events meant Curtis was never arrested and never joined the program. Curtis asks Nathan what happened to the others, and Nathan tells him their probation officer suddenly changed and killed them all, and that Nathan himself nearly died but was saved at the last moment by the ambulance. Curtis feels deep regret, knowing that if he had been with them at the time, he could have protected them from the officer. He once again enters his time reversal state, returning to the same party moment, and this time decides to take the drugs himself, so he alone will be arrested, sparing Sam from ruining her life. Curtis succeeds, and the next day he returns to the center and finds all his friends alive. Suddenly, Sam shows up to visit him, still his girlfriend, which means he has cheated on her with Alicia. In the locker room, Sally decides to search the group's lockers and finds Tony's credit card. She is shocked, and all her suspicions are confirmed. Sally calls the police and returns to the locker room, only to discover the card has disappeared. The officer tells her that even if it was there, it doesn't mean anything. Simon could have stolen it or simply found it. Sally grows furious and starts thinking of another way to lure Simon into revealing the truth. Meanwhile, Curtis decides he is going to break up with Sam, but every time he tries, he gives her a different reason for wanting to end things. Sam cries, and Curtis feels guilty, sitting alone in sadness. Nathan comes over to advise him, telling him to just say he has changed and isn't right for her anymore. Curtis says the same line to Sam, which turns out to be a quote from a Spider-Man movie. Sam gets angry, hits him, and for the first time, doesn't cry. Curtis feels relieved and continues his relationship with Alicia. At the end of the day, Sally follows Simon and offers him a ride. Simon is happy since it's the first time someone has talked to him like that. At night, he chats with his online friend and tells her he met a lonely girl. The girl, who is actually Sally, replies and tells him to ask her out. The next day, Simon decides to ask Sally out, and she agrees. They go together to a bar to drink, where Simon sees a group of his old friends, the same ones who humiliated him earlier at the club. He tells Sally that they used to be his friends, but when they started high school, they began avoiding him and treating him badly. They even embarrassed him at the club by saying they got his name wrong and had meant to invite someone else. That was when he decided to get revenge on someone close to them. He waited until he was sure no one was home and set fire to the mailbox, but he heard a cat inside. Realizing it was innocent, he decided to put out the fire. Just then, his friend's mother arrived, reported him to the police, and he was arrested. Sally smiles, feeling he is too kind to actually kill anyone, but she still wants to dig for more information to confirm he had nothing to do with Tony's disappearance. They return to Sally's house, where she invites Simon inside. He leans in to kiss her, but she pulls back and tells him to leave. Simon decides to turn invisible, follows her inside, and watches her as she sits alone crying. He stays with her until she falls asleep. The next day at the community center, Nathan hears the sound of a baby crying, and it turns out he's the only one who can hear it. He rushes toward the source of the sound and picks up the baby, holding it as if he somehow knows it. The baby's mother comes to take him, thanks Nathan. And when Nathan asks about the father, she says they separated because she didn't want children. Nathan is clearly moved, even though in reality, he doesn't like kids. Sally sees him and is surprised by his behavior, even asking if he's on drugs. At the end of the day, when Simon leaves the center, Sally decides to go home with him to get to know him better. She tells him she knows he loves photography and that she's contacted a few studios she knows to help him find work. Sally goes into Simon's room, where he shows her his videos until they reach the one of the storm. She asks if he has more videos like it, saying they could help the police investigate Tony's disappearance. Simon tells her that's the only one he has, then goes to get her a drink. Sally secretly steals the tape, pretends she's suddenly in a hurry, and leaves. At home, she watches the rest of the tape, but doesn't find anything unusual. She remembers Simon told her he records most of his videos on his phone, so she decides to find a way to get access to it. Outside the center, Nathan again hears the sound of a baby crying. He follows it and finds the baby in the playroom with his mother, who has fallen asleep. Nathan quickly grabs the baby and runs outside the center. Kelly sees him and is shocked, and she rushes to the rest of the group so they can take the baby back from him before he gets accused of kidnapping. They arrive at Nathan's location, where he is playing with the baby on the rooftop, refusing to let anyone take him away. He tells them he has decided to be the baby's father and is sure the baby loves him. The group tells him he already has a record, lives in the center like a homeless person, and steals food because he has no money. Nathan replies that he'll steal food for the baby too, let him sleep at the center with him, and make sure he doesn't need anything. Suddenly, Kelly hears the baby's thoughts, realizing he's asking Nathan to be his father. She understands that the storm affected the baby too, and gave him the ability to control people. She tries to convince Nathan that the baby is manipulating him, but Nathan still refuses to hand him over. Then the baby himself gets bored of Nathan and insults him in his thoughts, breaking Nathan out of the control. Nathan realizes he's holding the baby without remembering what happened. Kelly quickly takes the baby back to his mother, who has been searching for him, and tells her they found him crawling outside the building. She advises the mother to let the father see the child because her son needs a dad, knowing that as soon as the baby sees his father, he will control him and make him love him. The day ends, and Curtis is left feeling guilty for cheating on Sam with Alicia. Alicia talks with Sam and decides to confess everything that happened. Sam forgives her, and their relationship becomes more serious. Everyone leaves except Simon, who sees Sally in her office and decides to talk to her. They sit together and get closer. Sally decides to lock the doors after seeing Nathan walking Kelly home. She then asks Simon to bring her a drink, and while he's gone, she steals his phone, goes into the bathroom, and plays all the group's videos. By chance, she comes across the clip where Nathan says they killed their probation officer. Sally is shocked just as Simon returns and notices his phone is missing. He turns invisible, enters the bathroom, and realizes Sally has discovered the truth. He reveals himself to her and tries to explain that their probation officer attacked them and that the storm was the cause, but Sally doesn't believe him. She tells him to testify against his friends to the police, but Simon refuses, saying they are his only friends and he would never let her report them. He takes the phone back, but Sally attacks him, snatches it away, and runs. However, she finds all the doors locked with the keys in her office. Simon turns invisible again, fights her, and takes the phone back. When he becomes visible, Sally tries to hit him, but by accident, Simon pushes her against the control panel, causing her to fall and bleed until she dies. Simon hides the body, then goes home and deletes everything connected to Sally so no one will find out he was involved with her. The next day, the group waits for Sally to start their day, and they see another group who have already finished their community service sitting together. They're all dressed in strange clothes and share stories about their past and how they became better people, thanks to Natalie. Curtis and Alicia get bored, slip away to the bathroom together, and afterward, each comes out separately. Alicia washes her face and finds Natalie standing next to her, who realizes she's involved with Curtis. Natalie advises her to stop having casual relationships with guys, saying they'll only ever see her as fun and nothing more, and she'll never have a serious relationship with anyone. She adds that the way you present yourself to people is the way they'll always see you, so she should appear respectable if she wants respect. Alicia angrily tells her to stay out of her business. Suddenly, Natalie gives Alicia a strange look and, like casting a spell, tells her she can become a better person. Alicia's expression changes instantly, as if she's been hypnotized. The next day, Kelly sees Alicia entering the center wearing a strange dress unlike her usual clothes and without any makeup. Kelly tells Curtis what she saw, and he goes to talk to her. Alicia tells him she's changed and that he also needs to change so they can have a serious relationship. Curtis is surprised by her way of talking, which sounds just like Natalie and the rest of her group. He asks her what happened, and she tells him he has to join them, stop disappointing himself, and stop flirting with everyone around him. Curtis is shocked by her words and tells her she's not the same person he knows, then walks away from her. At that moment, Sally's police friend arrives, looking for her everywhere. He asks Nathan about her, but no one knows where she is. At the end of the day, everyone changes clothes and gets ready to leave, all puzzled by Sally's disappearance. Nathan, as usual, mocks Simon, who is on edge because of everything that happened. For the first time, Simon fights back, surprising Nathan with his attitude. Nathan walks away, and Kelly apologizes to Simon for Nathan's behavior, telling him he just likes to joke too much. Suddenly, she reads Simon's thoughts and hears him saying he did what he did to protect them because he loves them. Kelly is stunned and asks him what he meant, but Simon refuses to tell her. Before leaving, he goes into the center's storage room and looks at Sally's body hidden in the freezer. Later, everyone goes home except Kelly, who decides to stay the night with Nathan at the center. On his way home, Curtis finds Alicia waiting for him, but suddenly, Natalie's followers surround him, cover his head, and tie him up. They take him back to the center, and Nathan and Kelly secretly watch what's happening. They see Natalie speaking something in front of Curtis, who suddenly calms down, gets up to hug her, and is revealed to have completely completely transformed into someone else. The next day, they see Alicia with Curtis after they've both joined Natalie's group, burning drugs together and chanting the slogan, "Free yourself." Nathan, Simon, and Kelly decide to try to bring people back to normal because everyone has turned into identical versions of the same person, behaving and acting in exactly the same way. They plan to kidnap Alicia to figure out what happened to her. They wait until she goes into a certain room that has a back door. They put headphones in their ears so no one can control them, and Nathan and Simon wait at the back door while Kelly goes inside to confront Alicia. By coincidence, Curtis enters the room too and tries to grab Kelly. Nathan and Simon can't get inside, and Natalie's followers show up and seize Kelly. More followers chase after Nathan and Simon, and because of their huge numbers, the two of them are cornered. Simon decides to turn invisible, leaving Nathan on his own. Suddenly, a masked person on a bike appears, tells Nathan to hop on, and helps him escape. Nathan asks his rescuer's name, but the mysterious figure doesn't answer, leaving him behind. Nathan searches everywhere for Kelly, but is shocked to see that every street is full of people under Natalie's control, as if the entire city has turned into her. He decides to go to Kelly's house, where he finds all her old clothes packed in bags, ready to be thrown away. Suddenly, Kelly appears behind him, asking what he's doing in her bedroom, telling him it's inappropriate for a guy to be in the room where she sleeps. Nathan apologizes for leaving her and says he should have saved her. He tells her he knows she wasn't perfect, but he loved her because she was unique and had her own personality. Afterwards, he walks away, feeling defeated, and decides to leave the city. He gets to the train station, but at the last moment, chooses not to travel. He tries to find another way to save his friends and the rest of the people from Natalie's control. He goes to an abandoned place, changes his clothes, and puts on a suit like the rest of the men in the city, deciding to act like one of them. At the same time, Simon locks himself in the room where Sally's body is and stays there. Nathan arrives at the place where Natalie's followers are gathered and sees Curtis, who is very happy to see him and congratulates him. Then Nathan sees Natalie entering a room, so he politely excuses himself from Curtis, puts his headphones in, and follows her inside. Suddenly, he pulls out a gun and points it at Natalie, threatening her to make everyone return to normal. Natalie tries to use her spell on him, but Nathan turns up the music in his headphones and resists her power. She tells him she doesn't know how to stop him, and just then, Kelly enters the room and sees Nathan aiming the gun at Natalie. She calls the rest of the group, so Nathan quickly runs out, threatening to kill Natalie to keep them back. He drags Natalie up to the rooftop, where all of her followers are waiting. Nathan tries to convince them that they're acting strangely, that this isn't their true selves, and that every person should be unique instead of all being the same. It starts to rain, and Natalie notices the gun Nathan is holding is actually a water gun. She fights with him, and by accident, Nathan pushes her. Natalie falls from the roof to her death. Nathan slips, and before he falls, Simon tries to save him but can't, and Nathan dies too. Suddenly, everyone snaps out of Natalie's control after her death. They are confused by the strange clothes they're wearing. Then they see Nathan's dead body and break down in grief. Curtis tries to rewind time, but can't control his powers. They bury Nathan together, and Kelly remains heartbroken over him. In the grave, Nathan suddenly wakes up and realizes his power is immortality, and that his life will never end.